And now for the video you've all been waiting for. How to restore a product from a previous session. In this video, I'll be going over how you can bring back an extruded product so you can continue working. And also what to do if the customer changes the layout on you and now it needs to follow a different path. In one of the previous videos on working with the solid modeling tools, I built this simple wall but didn't finish the process by analyzing it and turning it into a Microvellum product. So now I got to go back into the room and get it back to where I left off. But because the solid modeling palette closed and the product isn't there anymore, I have to restore it from a previous session. The most important thing to remember is to not delete the construction path or the 2D section drawing before finishing the session. Otherwise, restoring it is going to be a problem. If for some reason the drawing wasn't saved between the time the construction path was drawn and the 3D solids were created, it's all good. It doesn't mean everything is lost. The 3D solids will come right back after restoring the product. And there it is. Now I like to toggle these checkboxes on and off just to make sure that the parts I'm seeing are actually part of this extruded product. Also, to check that the construction method is still there and some of the changes I made previously didn't revert back. The settings for the wall stud haven't changed, so really no need to worry. But unfortunately, when restoring from a previous session, some of the changes may be lost. Like for example, these parts that I stretched and locked earlier did go back. If you know that there's going to be a lot of modifications to the 3D solids, start early and analyze the product before closing the drawing. This is a great tool, but it does have its limitations. As long as you know what these limitations are, you should be all right. Just plan accordingly. After using the extruded tools again, I got the parts resized and ready to be analyzed. Now on to the next part of this video, where I want to go over how you can change the extruded product to follow a new construction path. Let's say the customer originally wanted you to make this L-shaped die wall, but after some redesigning on the job site, they send you a new drawing showing it like this. So the way to change it is by using the option to replace the construction path. But before I do that, I need to make sure there aren't any locked parts in this product. If there are, this won't work the way that I want. Select on the part in the tree view with those modifications and edit the properties. Make sure to get all the locked parts and change the value to false. Then right-click on the construction path and select Replace. Okay, so all the extruded and vertical parts have been assigned to this new path, but notice that supplemental part didn't. It's still part of the product, but it needs to move. I'll get back to that in a minute. I want to switch the way that the top is overhanging this wall first. To do this, you can right-click on the construction path and select Reverse. Okay, and now to make a few edits. I just want to remove a couple of these joints to give me a full subtop and finished panels at this center section. For the other side of the product, instead of 2 panels, I can make it 3 by first moving the joint that's there now, and then inserting a new one at a point along the construction path. And now, back to the supplemental part. This is where you're going to be using some AutoCAD commands. The first one being Move, pick the base point, and then the second point to move the part. And now to rotate it. You don't need to use the 3D rotate command here. First switch to a top view and just use the standard rotate. Type RO in the command line for that shortcut. Then select the object to rotate and pick a base point. Now the next step is to use a reference angle. So type R, hit enter, then the reference. This will be the current angle of the object. Select 2 points, and now the object is pivoting on that base point, so move the cursor and select a point along the new angle. The last step before analyzing would be resizing a few of these parts. For the supplemental part, I'll need to use press pull, but for the subtops and finished panel, I could use the stretch and lock command like I've done before. Or use the properties of the products to change the starting and ending offset. Now this will work for the side with no panel, but because I already used that stretch and lock once on the other edge, I'll need to use that again to pull it flush with the end panel. So into the subtop layer, this will be the parent properties, and I'll give just the starting offset a value of -1. A positive value will move the part in from the start of the construction path, where a negative value will start it before. Now after it redraws, because the parent properties of the subtop changed, the modifications to each section went away. So just a little more work with the extruded tools, and if there's no other changes from the customer, it can become a Microvellum product. This last little bit was an add-on. I was going to stop here, but it turned out this is a good example of when parts are ignored and use the red exception color. Now this is happening because the size is over 8 feet. To fix it, you would first want to make sure that there's material big enough in your library to handle it for processing. I'll open up the project spec groups, and then the material file, and here, making a new project level material. Make sure to give it a unique name and update the sheet size. Now, the subtop smart layers material can be edited to use the new 10-foot plywood. So the parts in the product are looking to the correct material, but the last thing to do is change the maximum part size in the toolbox setup options so we can analyze this properly. In here, you're going to want to change this to the value of the new sheet size. And I can reanalyze the product without getting an error. The die wall is now complete. Thanks for watching another training lesson on working with the Extruded Product Builder and Microvellum's solid modeling tools. Well, this was the last of the training videos in the solid modeling training plan. But if you don't want to stop here, I do have a couple other videos on solid modeling tools where I take an actual product that I've built in the past and show how to do it in Microvellum. Anyway, I hope these videos continue to propel you further when creating extraordinary things with ease using Microvellum Toolbox. I'll see you on the next one.